Hello, Happy New Year and welcome back to Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast with me, Giovanna Fletcher. Now, 2024 is shaping up to be a very exciting year indeed for all things Happy Mum, Happy Baby, with some fantastic guests on the way. I am very excited. And we've had some great feedback as well from our Parenting SOS specials. So there will now be one SOS episode per month. You are welcome. So as Team Happy Mum, Happy Baby are working busily away behind the scenes to prepare for the podcast this year, we thought January would be the perfect time to celebrate and to have a little listen back to some of my favourite episodes from the past 7 years. And we're going to start this week with an interview I did back in November 2017 with a man very close to my and my children's hearts. Yes, it's my husband and dad to my boys. It's Tom. At the time, Buzz was 3, Buddy was 1, and Max was a mere twinkle in both of our eyes. So it is fascinating for me now to listen to Tom talking back then, talking about hypnobirthing, being a touring dad. So have a listen. I think the big thing about all of these chats is that it all depends where we are in life at that moment. I think it captures a time, and this episode definitely highlights that for me. Have a listen, and I think I should try and convince Tom to do a new version in 2024. I think that's only fair. Until then, here's a very young Tom Fletcher. Hello and welcome to another episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. It's the last episode of the series and today's slightly different. I'm at home and today's guest is also slightly different for one big reason. He's a man!
Dum dum dum. Hello. I'm a man. I find it really weird when I'm called a man. I don't know why.
It's my man boy. What do you want to be
man
called?
Boy? Well, you know, like a kid, I realised that I had a moment where I realised I wasn't a kid anymore when another kid said to me, "Mummy, look at that man." I think it was when I had blue hair, and so I looked a bit weird. They're like, "Look at that man with blue hair." I was like, "Oh,
I'm a man and I have blue hair."
I'm not one of them anymore. Yeah, not only am I a man, I'm a weird man with blue hair who probably looks like he's trying to still be young and cool.
Anyway, so today's guest, he is one quarter of McFly, one half of my marriage, an author, a singer-songwriter. He's all round good at everything. Here's my husband, Tom Fletcher. Hi.
Oh, there's no round of applause or anything on this.
Oh no, sorry, we don't. I
You
know.
put like canned applause.
No, sorry. That's just you're used to in normal life. We're not doing this on my podcast.
Thanks.
How are you feeling about being on this podcast? Seeing as you've listened to everyone so far.
I'm feeling good. A little bit nervous.
Are you?
Now I'm here. Yeah. Now I'm feeling fine. I actually, to be honest, I haven't listened to all of your podcasts yet.
What?
No, I've listened to some.
You've laughed along with a lot of them.
I have. They're all brilliant. The ones I've heard are brilliant. I feel like I've got a lot to live up to.
Good. You're going to talk about your childbirth?
Yes. Yeah, I'm doing my pelvic floor exercises right now.
We worked out that we can actually do those together.
Yeah, I had to Google if I had a pelvic floor, didn't we?
You did.
Yeah, I actually can't remember what the result of that was.
I'm pretty sure you do.
But something moves down there when I'm doing this exercise. There is something going on. That's all I know.
Okay, so Tom, what sort of dad did you think you were going to be?
I was really looking forward to being a dad for a long time. And I think everyone has these kind of preconceptions of what it's going to be like. And then I wanted to be really prepared. So, we both sat and read all the books and you were, adding books to this huge pile that was growing on my bedside table. And I wanted to read them all. I wanted to know it's this whole unknown thing you're about to enter into in your life. And I wanted to be really prepared for that. And so I read lots. I then discovered that maybe I shouldn't have read so much because I think I really overthought it. And the reality is that you can't be prepared for it because it's completely, no matter how well it's described to you, how much you read about it, until you're living it and experiencing it, it's a completely unique experience for you as an individual. And so it wasn't like anything that I'd read, really. And
did you find anything that you read good, or did you find it actually had a hindrance on your...
Yeah, I found a lot of the stuff about the pregnancy and the birth, especially the hypnobirthing book. That was amazing. That was really informative and described, what was going to happen with you and your body during birth. I found it described it better than any of the other books I'd read. And then also because we did hypnobirthing for both the kids. So I really enjoyed that book. But I think some of the other ones, which kind of describe people's experiences and things, or kind of, the do's and don'ts, or, what to watch out for. I just kind of think they'll just go out the window when you actually have a kid.
Well, and they put a lot of expectation on you, I think.
Yeah, and also I found that I was worrying about things I hadn't worried about before because someone else had worried about it.
Yeah.
I read about, just stupid stuff that if I hadn't have read that, this person had worried about this, that I thought wouldn't have even been in my mind, and I wouldn't have worried about it. And there's a lot of stuff like that which I just think I would have been better off just winging it. just playing it by ear a bit. Because that's what you do as a parent, isn't it? You can't prepare. You have to, because, you're entering into a new relationship with a new human that you don't know yet. And they're half of that relationship. They're going to dictate to you what it's going to be like.
And how did it feel for you when we decided that we were going to not trying it? Because we never actually were like, we're going to try for a baby. Our thing is we're going to not try.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of couples do, really, isn't it?
Just a little bit of wording makes all the difference.
Yeah, well, it is. Well, obviously, from hypnobirthing, that's true, isn't it? The way you think about something does totally can change your, the way you think about it. And did I say the way you think about something changes the way you think about something? The way that you word stuff and the way you approach it, if you just change one tiny little thing, then it makes you see it completely differently and takes all that pressure off. You don't know what's going to happen, do you?
Yeah.
Because I think when we were not trying for Buddy, I think because it had taken...
we didn't have a lot of time to not try.
Exactly. I think because...
so quickly.
Yeah, because it had taken so long with Buzz, we were kind of like, we'll just not try now because it's going to take a while, isn't it? And then, what do you know? Pregnant straight away.
Well, before Buzz, obviously we did fall pregnant. I did fall pregnant. I don't think we're one of those couples that are like, we were pregnant.
Can I say we? Or how do I say that? I still don't know. I feel weird. You can't say, no, you were pregnant. I just was there.
But before Buzz, I fell pregnant really quickly. And obviously that ended in a miscarriage. I think I've always processed how that was for me. And I think a lot of women, kind of, it's all on the woman. And I know that's probably because as a man, you don't really have a lot of time to even bond with that idea. It's not actually physically happening to you. But how was that?
It was really difficult, and I think I found it more difficult later on. I think maybe after we had Buzz, that's when it really kind of hit me, and you realised what it was what you went through. And you're right, because even when you have a kid, as a dad, I found it really difficult with Buzz for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Really hard, just worrying about, am I connecting with him? Am I bonding with him? There's this instant connection between mum and baby. And I was not prepared for that at all. And that's with your child that has been born and you're holding and loving. And so having a connection with the idea of a kid, or, I'm not experiencing the same physical reactions that you're getting from really early on in pregnancy. And so it's just this idea of that you were pregnant and we were both young. It's the first time it happened. It doesn't really feel real, or that it's happening to you. And I think at the time, we hadn't struggled with getting pregnant before that. So I think it just kind of took me by surprise, and I just thought, is this just something that happens to everyone? I don't know. I just don't think I really could process exactly what had happened until I was a dad.
Yeah.
And then I found it really hard. I think actually after you wrote Happy Mum, Happy Baby and really reading about...
I did chuck the 10,000 words at you at the start and not told you, I didn't tell you what it was that you were about to read.
Yeah, and then, just reading about how you felt through that was really difficult. And it suddenly hit me what we went through. Not just what you went through, but and actually what it was that I went through then as well, and what we lost. It's really difficult. It's one of those things you think about every now and then, or as a dad, something will just make you think about what could have been. Who was that kid?
I just find it's a really hard subject, and we don't, as a society, talk about it enough. And I think, obviously, I've been working with Tommies and raising that awareness, and so people know how to talk about it. Because we don't talk about it for the first 12 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're going through something and you're not sharing it. We
don't talk about that stuff. There were still things with all the books that you read and I read. There were still elements of the pregnancy that we didn't know about.
We were literally phoning
like,
the doctor and we're like, what is this?
What's this thing?
This is really graphic and really horrible. But after Buzz arrived, I literally went to the toilet and something else started coming out. And I was like, what is this? So I called it. It's a big blood clot. And I called you and I was like, Tom, this is something else. It was the most disgusting thing ever.
Yeah,
but
it was
no
like...
one had told me that.
I mean, it's literally like that scene out of Alien in the kitchen. It was horrific. And, you know, but no one had told us that was going to happen. It's completely normal and totally fine. But because it's a little bit gross and no one really wants to address that, people don't talk about it. And then it's really scary when that kind of thing happens. But obviously then that's just the easy stuff to happen. Yeah. It's just a little bit embarrassing. But there are so many, you know, anything to do with miscarriage, you know, and the loss of a baby, it's so difficult to talk about it. But it's so important that we share those stories. All these aspects, they're really tough to talk about. It's so important that we share it because you can feel so alone. Yeah. You know, and I know that's a massive thing for mothers, but I think a lot of dads go through that as well. And, you know, at the time when I was finding it really difficult with Buzz, you know, it's really hard to talk about the idea of you not feeling like you're in love with your baby, you know, or that you're not bonding with your kid. That's really difficult to actually say out loud, you know, because you want to be, oh, it's amazing. You want to be that dad that, you know, everyone wants you to be and thinks you are. And of course you are playing, you know, you are doing all the things that you can do. But inside, I just found it really hard in those first 6 months, seeing this amazing bond between you two, between mum and baby, because he needs you physically, requires you to be
I had
there.
the boobs.
You just had the
boobs,
basically. But there's, you know, there wasn't really, you know, anywhere to talk about that. Yeah. Or, you know, I didn't feel, you know, I'm relatively open about a lot of the aspects of my life. And this was something completely new where I thought, I just found it really, who do you talk to about that? And not wanting to burden you with it because you were obviously going through.
I think there was one night about 2 weeks in, or maybe it was a week in. It was on the first week because Georgie and Lee were downstairs, my sister and my brother-in-law, and I think they were looking after. Was I feeding Buzz at the time? Anyway, I must have been feeding him. Anyway, you came in and sat on the floor and you burst out crying. I was like, I just don't know if I'm feeling the bond. And then I started crying. We were just both sat there in a weeping mess. This is what we wanted.
It's so hard, isn't it? It's so funny, like looking back on those hard times now. And you just think, God, you know, you're just so tired. It's not even, tiredness isn't even the word for it. It is complete fatigue. Like you are just exhausted beyond anything I'd ever experienced before. Like there were times, and right from night one when he was born, I didn't even know if I was going to make it through that night. Like seriously, I've never felt that bad in my life, but too embarrassed because you'd obviously just gone through the most amazing birth, no drugs, nothing. You know, you'd given birth to our son. And there was no way I could complain, but I literally thought I was dying. And
to the point, though, we should point. What happened when the midwife came in?
The midwife came in and felt like she had to attend to me before you. God knows what I looked like in that moment. I just we'd been up for 24 hours. Obviously, it was, you know, it's an exciting, stressful time, and it was, you know, we had an amazing experience. You know, it was an incredible experience watching you do it, and you had this huge adrenaline rush. You know, when your baby is there, but then suddenly your body realizes that you haven't slept for 24 hours or eaten much, and you've just been through all of this, you know, brand new experience in your life, and my body just was not playing along. I couldn't stand. I was just out for the count. I actually thought it was going to be potentially dangerous to the health of my baby for me to hold Buzz at the time.
Well, there are times
I was just too tired to hold him.
Yeah.
And that was day one. He wasn't even a day old, and I was questioning whether I should be holding it. But yeah, obviously, and then you know that fatigue lasts. It's really hard and stressful. And you know, at the time, just, you know, there was amazing things going on in my career at the time. I was about to go on the biggest tour of my career with McBusted. Buzz was born 2 weeks before that. And so there's all the kind of anxiety of how am I going to be able to be a dad and be there for you and honour my commitments to the band and the tour that had sold out, and it wasn't even just a McFly tour that was kind of the thing we did every year. It was this brand new thing that had created all this excitement. And so that was, hugely stressful, trying to balance this, two new aspects of my life, like this major kind of breakthrough in my career and this huge opportunity that I thought was going to be so much fun, and becoming a dad for the first time. That was quite stressful.
What did you think when I first said about hypnobirthing?
I was totally open to do whatever you wanted to do. I obviously had an opinion and I had thoughts on how I would do it if it was me, but I never voiced those to you, and I never wanted to put you under any pressure or, feel like I was leading you down a certain path. It's your body and you were going to be the one to give birth to the baby. So the whole way along, I was very aware that you were the one that was going to have to make those decisions. And when you wanted my advice and my opinion, I would happily give it to you. But from really early on, I was able to see, these massive changes, exactly what you were going through in your life, from the physical aspects to the mental aspects of it and your hormones.
Were they fun?
Oh, it's so fun. It's a magical experience. But because of that, it's your decision. You have to be the one to really lead that and be comfortable in the way that you're going to give birth to our baby.
But hypnobirthing, I think for me, it gives the dad. So I guess, so in the pod, we've already spoken about hypnobirthing a couple of times. Clemmy Hooper really spoke about it really well. But it's essentially self-meditation, but it's a partnership. The dad or whoever the birthing partner is really gets involved. It wasn't just on me.
Well, I love the idea of it I'd never heard of it before until you told me about it. I think in the name can be quite misleading, quite scary for some people.
You're going to get all Paul McKenna on me.
Yeah, or you feel like, or that it's too spiritual and it's, quite hippie-ish or something. Yeah. And it totally isn't that. It's going to the basics of relaxation and being aware of what is going on in your body, which I think... What's amazing about it is I think everyone should just do this, whether you're expecting a baby or not. Like, it's an amazing thing to just breathe and become aware of what's going on in your body and being living in the moment. And it's something I was aware of before that through mental health things and, not sleeping for the majority of my life. Suddenly going through learning how to, set a bit of self-meditation and relaxation techniques, prior to you becoming pregnant. So then when I realized that's what it was, I was like, oh, well, that still seems really obvious. That seems like a great thing to be doing when you're pregnant. And so then reading the book and doing the course and everything, it was amazing. It was a brilliant experience because not only was I could see the effect it was having on you becoming more relaxed, feeling like you're more aware of what's happening in your body. All of that I thought was amazing. Plus it gave us a moment each night to sit down together, have some quiet time and just be a couple, I guess. And it's a really nice thing to have during that time. So yeah, I really, really loved it. And then for it to lead to the most incredible birth experience. And, because we didn't know exactly what it was going to be like, what you're going to have to go through. If you were going to be able to see through our, this plan of giving birth naturally without any drugs. When you tell people that, they're like, oh, really? It's like, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So then thinking...
It's that knowing.
Even though you want to have this confidence of, no, this is our plan. It is totally doable. This is what we want. It's what you want to do. There's part in your mind that thinks, okay, but when is, to look out for that moment of, okay, no, something is going to have to change. It isn't going to be the way we want it to be or, the way we planned. And that's fine. But just trying to be aware of looking out for those signs of when it isn't going to go the way you want it to go. But amazingly, and, luckily, it just went incredibly, and that time never came, and you just bosh through it. That obviously we watched One Born every minute constantly throughout the pregnancy. You hear, and when you're expecting a baby, everyone tells you every story, the ones you don't want to hear, these horror stories, and for us to have the most perfect experience and to watch you go through that. And it's just like, yes, hypnobirthing actually totally works. And not only that, just to see the reaction of the midwives who couldn't believe what you were doing and, didn't believe you were in labor because you were so relaxed. And the second time when you were saying, okay, this is it, it's going, we're like, oh, we've been in here for about 10 minutes. Of course it's not. And then 5 minutes later, we're holding our baby. It's amazing to see that happen. And that is, totally down to, the practice that you put in.
We put in.
Yeah, the practicing that we did and those techniques just being really useful.
How did you feel in that initial moment when we realised that I was in labour?
Well, you kept it quiet for quite a while, where we just sat on the sofa. Well, the
No.
what
the first
time? The first time.
With Buzz, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that was yeah. So the first time when when she went into labour, we were out on Danny's birthday meal. So I'd come from rehearsals with McBusted. It was getting closer to the tour, closer to the due date, and I just had a feeling it was going to happen on Danny's birthday. So we sat down for our meal, and then you went to the toilet, and I just thought, I wonder what's going on there. And then I thought, no, you definitely would have told me if you'd have thought something was happening. So no, it's just gone for a wee. And then I came back and heard you say to Emma, I think my waters broke. So I literally just overheard you telling someone else that you're in labour.
Hearsay.
Yeah. Basically just gone around the whole table. Oh, have you heard, Tom? Your wife's in labour. Yeah, and then the steak got put on the table and I said to you, do you want to go? And you said, no, I want to have my steak. So we sat and we had dinner and then kind of had to say to everyone, yeah, we kind of have to go now. Even though I think we both wanted to stay for dessert.
Yeah. And the second time round was very quick.
Just pop that one out, didn't you? In the pool. Yeah, I mean, we didn't even have time to open a packet of Jelly Babies and get our little comedy DVD going. You were just adamant that it was going to... I think you just knew it was happening quicker this time and wanted to get in the pool as soon as you could.
And as a dad standing by, you know, we've been together 14 years now. How is that, standing by and watching someone that you love go through childbirth?
The first time, it's not scary, but you have no idea what's going on. I was constantly looking at the midwife and everyone that was walking in the room, seeing what their face was doing, seeing if I could, second guess what they were thinking. Is everything okay? They're telling me everything's, fine, and what they're really thinking. There's so many things going on in your head, and then worrying about you. Are you doing okay? Are you getting tired?
You just kept trying to poke these Jelly Babies in
Well,
my mouth.
The thing is, I knew I was exhausted by that point. So I just thought, well, if I'm exhausted, you must be completely knackered.
I can remember a couple of times during it, you trying to do certain things like massage.
Well, you practice all these things, don't you? And you get told, like, this would be a really nice one to do when she's in labour, and when when she's got the the downward movement, and this would be a nice thing to do on her neck or back. Nah, it's not. It's not. Just leave her alone. Let her do it. Well, I think you, out of all the people I know, you're so strong-minded, and when you want to do something, you just bosh through it. You completely get it done. In that kind of mindset, I had no doubt that you were just going to absolutely smash it the way you wanted to do it. You're so focused and determined, and I think when you set your mind to something, you do it, and you really achieve it. And so I was fully confident in you. And so when you got into that moment, I kind of realised there's not a lot I can do apart from just make sure everyone leaves you alone, basically, and gets out of your way and gives you a drink if you want a drink, and make sure or a Jelly Baby if you want a Jelly Baby, and when you don't want them, I'll eat them. It's fine.
You ate a lot of Jelly Babies.
I did eat a lot of Jelly Babies.
One thing you did do, actually, every now and then, when I frown, that it means I'm holding tension.
Well, obviously, yeah, like part of hypnobirthing is to be completely relaxed, because you would just go from this kind of relaxed, calm state to frowning and...
Breathe, I think is what you said.
Oh yeah, that's it. Breathe,
stop frowning.
Stop frowning. And so yeah, I was there. I did something.
You did.
Cut the cord.
You did.
It was like I wanted to experience that. I wanted to see what was going on, and I know
quite early on actually you saw what was going on.
Yeah, well, obviously, that's one of the things that is, in our relationship, I guess, is that we've known each other forever. For a
not trying to impress you anymore. Come and look at my
Basically,
food.
Yep, the honeymoon period is well and truly over. But there aren't those kind of boundaries in our relationship.
And you're not like a laddie lad who's like, oh, my favourite pub burning down. You haven't got a favourite pub. So.
No, and it is an amazing thing that is happening. I really wanted to see that, and if you were comfortable with that, then thanks.
So then we had a newborn.
Yeah.
How did you...
But that's the thing. I think you spend so long focusing on the pregnancy and the birth, and that's, becomes your focus. Yeah. And you actually forget that after that, then that's really what it's all about, is you're going to be a dad and a mum, and you're going to have a human that you are totally responsible for. when you're in labour and you're giving birth, you are not thinking about everything else that comes afterwards. So then suddenly you're like, right, he's done his first poo, let's change his nappy. Yeah. I read 4 books just about that. And I still can't remember it. And you're really prepared. Think, I bought that little bottle of olive oil just like I was told. And then what do you do with it? Do I pour that on a cotton wool thing, or just pour that on the baby's bum? Like, how do you, then you're a dad and a mum. Mad, isn't it? And you don't know what you're doing.
There is that, isn't there? I think it's quite scary when you're actually allowed to go home.
Yeah, really, really, it's really scary. At least when you're at the hospital still. There are people around you, letting you know what you need to do. Coming in, checking the baby's okay. And you can, so many things to worry about. They haven't cried for a while, or they're always crying. What's going, but there's always someone there to say, it's okay, that's fine, it's totally normal. Then when you get home and those things continue to happen, that's a bit scary because no one's there to tell you it's all right, apart from Google.
And you should never Google.
Which you don't want to do.
How did you, because obviously you went on tour straight away, well, pretty much straight away afterwards. How was that leaving us? Because there's a lot of talk about mum guilt. Mum guilt's a real big thing, and mum's having to go back to work and stuff. Is there such a thing as dad guilt?
Yeah, massively. And especially with my job, because it's not really a job, it's fun. It's something that I love. I love doing it. I love going to work. It's not work. I love being in a band and going on stage and performing. So feeling like I'm leaving you to go and do something fun is really hard, because you just feel like everyone thinks I'm a terrible dad.
Really? Do you get that?
Well, I think so, yeah. Like, there's obviously, but the flip side of that is you're at home with the newborn, and so, I had my job to do. It is my job. It's what, gives us this, it's what provides for our family.
Yeah.
And I had to go and do that. But luckily, we're very fortunate in the, especially the level of that tour, that I could kind of dictate the way it needed to be. And, I think there was 2 weeks before the tour, wasn't there? We had a week at home with Buzz. Then we had another week back in hospital because of all the drama that unfolded with Buzz, who got an infection in his finger, and you got an infection, so we're back at the hospital for a week.
Which is actually the best thing for us.
Yeah,
as I think, no matter how much you're told to rest or not do it, you do it anyway.
Well, unless you have people, here to look after you, you still have to, it's still a house to look after, and shopping to get in, and and all of that stuff, life. And so going back to hospital, was a bit like, okay, I can nip off for a couple of hours to rehearsals when you two are both at the hospital and sleeping and getting looked after, and then come back and sleep at the hospital with you two. Obviously, that's, really tiring, stressful time, because I'm trying to be there for you, trying to be there for Buzz, and trying to make sure that I know what I'm doing for this biggest tour of my life that I've got coming up in, maybe it's probably like 4 days away at that point. Like every tour we've done, we're so unprepared for those first shows, and we don't really know what we're doing. We're so ambitious with the show that we were putting on, so it's really manic. So that's quite stressful, and at the same time wanting to know exactly what's going on with you and Buzz, making sure you're okay, and if you need me, I will of course drop everything and come back home. And then feeling like, does everyone think I'm a terrible dad for being up here on the tour? Well, because everyone assumes that, the touring lifestyle is this kind of rock and roll lifestyle. And it isn't that for us at all. Obviously, when you're younger, there is elements of that, but, not now, not for a long time.
Now you're old.
Now we're old. I mean, even when I was in my mid-20s, I was taking knitting on tour on a Friends box set. Like, I was never that rock and roll guy. So now we based ourselves in Manchester. So you could come up to the tour. We were there for 2 weeks, and that was amazing because I was able to go and do the shows knowing that you were at a hotel. You could have room service. People cleaned the rooms for us. It was an amazing thing to, like, everyone should just go and stay in a hotel when they have a newborn.
No visitors.
No one can visit you because we're, 4 hours away from all of our friends and family. So it's really nice. We're on our own in this little bubble. And with our baby, getting to know I think it allows you to get to know your baby a bit better.
Can you remember the night when Buzz was 4 weeks old and you had a cold and you didn't want to give him the cold, so you slept in the spare room?
Yeah.
For 4 nights.
Well, I didn't want to give our newborn a cold. I mean, that's a really responsible thing to do as a parent.
But it was hell for me.
I still don't know what's so wrong with this. I had a horrendous cold, and I didn't want to spread it to our newborn who was sleeping in the room, who had already had a horrendous infection and ended up back in hospital. So I slept in the spare room. Now I know that means, but don't forget, I wasn't getting like
full night's sleep.
I was really ill, so I wasn't getting like really. It wasn't like a holiday
Yeah.
sleeping in that other room. I can't believe you've still got a thing about that.
There is that thing, though, isn't there? I think that sleep thing and that sleep being stolen. There is that little bit of resentment, no matter how much we love each other. At night time, when you're not in your head, in your full functioning head.
Oh yeah,
when
yeah.
baby
You
wakes
turn
up
into the
and
devil.
you're like,
Yeah, you
watch
are.
yourself. It's my podcast. Okay? I can edit you out.
I just want your listeners to be aware of what the reality of what you're like at night time when a baby cries. It is sleeping with the she-devil. It's mad.
It's that initial, I can't.
No, obviously, yeah, you're and there's a lot more of that kind of resentment of the other person when you only have one kid, I think, because when it's two, you're both tired, and at some point, I'm going to end up, well, the way it's worked out with us, at some point, I'm going to end up on
one floor,
Buddy's floor, and you're going to end up on Buzz's floor, and we're both going to end up awake at 5 a.m. on their floors in separate rooms. So we're both as tired as each other, and whichever one wakes up first, it's like, okay, fine.
I guess for me, though, in those early days, it was breastfeeding because I had the boobs. I had to.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
So...
You kind of fall into that routine of waking up at nighttime because, especially because I was away for those nights. I guess you were doing the nighttime routine from then on. And I think, obviously you will know, but you have a physical reaction when the baby cries that wakes you up. And
yeah, we've heard that the reason that men don't wake up, it's actually, it goes back to caveman times. So it means that they have a restful night's sleep so they can wake up and hunt in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. See?
Yeah. How's that hunting going?
Yeah. Not really the hunter-gatherer.
Even now, though, because the boys do wake up about 5. I have to properly, when they cry, it seems like the loudest thing to me, but I have to properly shake you.
Yeah,
It's not that you don't want to wake up. It's just that you literally, I guess if I'm not there, you're probably more aware.
When they're newborns, I experienced a definite surge of adrenaline. Whenever they cried in the night, I would have an adrenaline rush that would just go through, like when you fall or you hear a loud bang that makes your toes and your fingers tingle and you're totally ready to jump out of bed like someone's broken into the house or something. And I had that every time with both the boys when they were newborns, when they cried. But then you kind of realise, all right, they're crying and you've woken up at this point as well. And then it's like, right, well, we're both awake.
There was something quite fun. I can't even believe I'm saying this about the early days when Buzz used to wake up. Because you used to change him. I used to feed him. We used to sit down and watch Countdown without crackers.
Yes, it's not that I never did like the nighttime routine.
No.
It just became that, okay, so I would go into his room, get him out of bed, change his nappy, bring him into you, put the TV on. We'd watch Countdown at 4 a.m. Have a little cracker. Yeah, I like those little snacks. Looking back, they were really fun times.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get any good scores on Countdown at 4 a.m.
I can't even get a 4-letter word. I don't know what's happening.
But they're really fun times. Then we sit, we'd have the little bedside table on. And you don't have that so much with the second one because you don't want to wake up the first.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's a little bit more kind of hushed in the dark.
Well, and also, like, Buzz was just a lot more difficult because he did sleep in our room and he was more difficult in the sense of he'd take 2 hours to feed because he took ages to feed, to change him, feed again.
Oh, it was just yeah.
He was, and then get him to go back to sleep. It literally took 2 hours, and then he'd wake up an hour later. Whereas with Buddy, he would have 15-minute feed, don't even bother changing him because he's not bothered, and he'll go back to sleep straight away.
Yeah, and I think part of that is
a
a combination of their personalities, and us being more experienced in knowing what you're doing and confidence in breastfeeding and knowing that you could do it, and your body having done that before, and knowing what it needs to do. So yeah, it was much easier the second time.
I think everything
was easier the second time.
We were lucky as well because some people have real difficulties the second time round.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I can totally see how people give up on breastfeeding in that with Buzz. I mean, that was so stressful for you. And seeing you going through that, it's just...
Well, and I think that's
really
why
hard.
Both of us were sort of that thing about the bond thing that we were talking about earlier. Because for me, I didn't feel like I was bonding with him as instantly as I should. Obviously, I loved him to bits, but because I was so worried about getting it right, I think that kind of took over in some way. You know? I was focusing more on that, on the fact, rather than the fact that this is my lovely baby. Just keep shoving my boob in his mouth. How do you think, so when we got to 6 months, you said it took 6 months for that bond to really kick in. What was it that made that change?
I think around 6 months was when we really started to get responses from Buzz in like laughter, smile and laughing, really recognizing you. And it's that it was around that time that I started to see like, oh, he wants me. That's him. That's his reaction to me. That's not his reaction to you. And there's something really special about that. Feeling like, oh, he liked that when I did it, but he doesn't find it funny when anyone else does it. He just likes it when I do that. And then you kind of feel like, oh, right, he likes me. He does like me. And that just then grows and grows and grows. And you start forming this new friendship because it's a two-way thing. You know, like it is for you instantly, I guess. You know, it's a two-way thing. Yeah. You give him something, he gives you love and you know, attention. And as a dad, you get that, you know, but just a bit later. You obviously love your child, but just feeling like you know you have that kind of connection and bond that he loves you back in a really selfish way.
Don't forget that Buddy, he literally looked like Buzz the second.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt that bond was there straight away because he just looked like a human that I already loved.
Yeah, that's true. And also that's one of the reasons why, like, I loved seeing pictures of Buzz that looked like me. As a baby, before, when I was finding it really hard, I would literally just sit on my phone at night when I couldn't sleep and look at pictures of me as a kid and him and go onto my app where you can put pictures next to each other and compare them, and it's like, oh yeah, he does look like me, you know, really like
that.
Is that
a really big thing?
It was such a big thing there, like I was totally not bothered about like him looking like me. I did not, it wasn't like my thing, oh, I hope my kid looks like me. But just knowing that he did and seeing that, because I didn't realise, I couldn't see it myself. It was only when my mum brought around a picture, like a few weeks, I think about a month in, and I'd been having a bit of a difficult time, I think, just with tour and being tired and worried about, you know, just parenthood and being a dad. And then my mum brought this picture over.
Because everyone had been saying that he was such a Falcone.
Yeah, everyone had said, oh, he looks like Mario, or he looks like Joy. And I could see that. I could totally see that he looked like your sister and looked like you and looked like your family, which is amazing. But then suddenly getting this picture of me that was literally Buzz. Like, it's so him. It could have just been the same baby. And that was an amazing moment for me. And so I just loved seeing these pictures. And then I could see, as he got older, I could see like, oh, that looks like me in that video that I remember of me as a kid. Like, oh, he's so much like me. That's an amazing thing in a really selfish way that I didn't expect to feel and was not important to me before it happened. It was only when it actually happened I thought, oh, I love that. Like, it's really cool. Like, my son's
so funny, because I can't
like
remember
me.
Your mum at all in those early days when everyone was saying, oh, he's such a Falcone. She never at one point said, oh, he's so much like, he's literally a spitting image.
Yeah, cheers, mum. Could have told me earlier. No, she did later on. I think for my mum and dad later on, like, and around now, like, there's real similarities between him and me.
Yeah.
At that age, which is obviously must be really nice as a, you know, it'd be like in years to come, seeing our grandkid remind us of Buzz and Buddy.
Yeah.
That must be a really special thing. So I really that was a really big kind of breakthrough moment for me, seeing that my son was like me in some way.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I'd seen you a lot. Actually, in Buddy, even more so. I could see so much you, especially in his personality.
So I would say that we share parenting duties 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find
I'm glad you see it that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, now it's changed a lot since I'm not breastfeeding anymore. They need us both. We're both able to share. Actually, can you remember your first afternoon alone with Buzz when he was 3 months old?
Yeah, it didn't go well. Yeah, he had a bit of a meltdown. It was literally like, oh, it's all really peaceful. Yeah, cool, good. You know, you go out like we're going to be great. And then the moment the door went shut, all hell broke loose. Like, he was just poo everywhere. I think he was sick on me and didn't stop crying no matter what I did. And then I think I did something with the breast milk as well, where I like dropped a bit of it and then only had half the amount ready. You know, just total nightmare. But, you know, you get through it. You learn, live and learn.
Well, it's very different now because
Well, the thing is, though, even when someone has to go work,
yeah,
and if, like with us, if the mum is going to stay home, the dad is going to be the one that is going to go back to work sooner.
Yeah.
And so even though you're not there, doesn't mean you're not sharing the parenting duties 50-50, because going to work to provide for your family is part of the parenting duty.
Yeah.
And so that whole idea of it not being 50-50 just because you're going off to work.
Actually, I've got to say, I've just finished writing a book. And during that, I literally was sat in my office for 3 months solid, and you did most of the childcare.
Yeah.
But there's this whole thing now about a hands-on dad. How do you feel about being called a hands-on dad? And is that a bit insulting? You know?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't feel insulted by it, but I do feel it's a very strange thing to be. Like, I would never ask a dad, "Are you a hands-on dad?"
Or a mum.
Or a mum. Yeah, I would never ask a mum, "Are you a hands-on mum?" It just feels like the weirdest thing, the weirdest concept to me. The idea of not being that. Like, how can you not? Or just so old-fashioned, so dated.
But you must get, like, if you go out, I feel like if I went out to a restaurant and they were kicking off, I would be frowned upon and judged. If you went out to a restaurant and they were kicking off, other parents might look around and go, "Oh, he's really trying."
Oh yeah. Oh, I totally get that. Or, if I go for, take both boys out for, for lunch or for, to the coffee shop or for a walk, you get people reacting to you like, "Oh, isn't he doing it? Like, that's so good to see. It's nice to see you, pulling your weight." And I'm like, that's the weirdest thing to say. Yeah. Like, of course, like, obviously, so there were times when I would have to go to work, like we've said, on the tour. And there are moments, that doesn't mean that I'm not an equal part of bringing up our kids and hands-on. And so it's a very strange concept,
especially since a lot of mums go to work as well, so after that, sometimes 6 months or a year, people go back, so you've got both parents who are working full-time, and then to have it so that even in that situation the dad it's like it's an option.
Yeah, we know from other generations in our family that going back, the dads didn't do much.
Our dads.
Yeah,
like my mum will openly say, "I've never seen your dad change a nappy."
Yeah, change a nappy or not be there at the birth and not and that is very old fashioned, I think. And so we live in a new era now where, especially with women and mums who, like, you're so ambitious and you have an amazing career and you want to, see those things through, and you shouldn't have to give that up. It shouldn't be an either or. You shouldn't have to decide between your career and your kids. It's like you were saying now, like, there's times now when you have to work and when you're busier, I will make sure that I'm freer and I will be here for the kids and be home and do the school runs and have them in the day and take them out so you can work. And that's just what being in a relationship and sharing the duties of parenthood is. And obviously it's not everyone's in the same line of work that we're in, and people have people have 9 to 5 jobs where you have to go in to the office hours and come home, and it's very equal between us, I think. And obviously early on, just because there's the natural thing of you wanting to breastfeed, so you're doing the feeding and a lot of the night feeds, but I would do the nappy changes and all, and the go out shopping, and when people come over, I'd be the one making the food and the cups of tea. And it's why I've only recently I've been the one that's cooked more in the house. It's just a kind of...
It started when I was pregnant with Buzz. Yeah, so Christmas dinner.
Yeah, and from then on I realised, actually, it's easier for you if I do the cooking. So, and that's just carried on now. So the fact that I will be the one... Even still now, I'm usually the one who goes to the supermarket, buys the shopping, comes home and cooks.
Yeah.
And that's just but that is because then you are free to do whatever it is that you're doing, whether that be looking after the kids or working, and I'll take the kids with me to do that. And that is it's just part of sharing the duties of...
It is amazing though to think about how it's changed in the literally in one generation, how much it's changed and how much it might change for Buzz and Buddy when they're older.
Do you think that goes hand in hand with feminism and equality? And it's been such a shift, especially recently.
Yeah.
Why should you have to give up your career and your dream when you have kids? It is totally manageable and doable to do both.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that's why I think it's so important so that in the partnership it's equal, because if both of you are then career driven, then you've got to share everything else. It can't be that the woman, that's an add-on. A career can't be an add-on to everything else, because you're doing two jobs really.
I think the thing with both of us is that we are a bit crazy, a bit weird, in the sense that we are both very ambitious and our line of work is creative, that isn't 9 to 5. And even before you have kids, like
Yeah.
you can't predict when you're going to feel like you want to go and write a song or want to go write a book. And we've now realized that we have just given up sleep because
And social life. We don't need to see people, and we don't need to see...
Well, that works for me because I don't really like people, so that suits me fine. But we've realised that we can be parents in the day. Mm-hmm. It's like being superheroes. Parents by day, writers by night.
Can we talk about what Buzz said to you yesterday?
Oh my God, he melted my heart yesterday. He literally made me cry. He said to me, how did we get onto the subject? Oh, it's because I'd had a chat with him about, always feeling like he can come and tell us stuff. And if he ever gets into trouble, he must always come and, say, tell mummy and daddy. And I think because I was the one that had that conversation with him, I was saying, so who do you tell if you ever need to tell, if you ever get into trouble? He'd say like, daddy. I was like, yeah, and mummy. Mummy and daddy. And anyway, so I'd brought that up we were out for dinner last night, and I said, gee, we had a nice chat yesterday, but didn't we, about, if you're ever in trouble or if you ever need to tell us anything, who do you tell? And he said, my daddy. If I ever need help, I said, daddy, help. And daddy will come and save me. He said, daddy, you're like Superman. He's like, because you've got a ladder.
And you're strong.
Because
those are the two things you need to be Superman.
Yeah, Superman apparently has a ladder and he's strong. It was so cute, like, your son saying that you're like Superman. It's really sweet.
How do you think parenthood has changed you?
I mean, parenthood has massively changed me all of the cliches, everything you ever hear anyone say, it is all so true. Like, you realize what your life is about now. You realize you have a total new purpose and a reason to do what you do, or a reason to change what you do, and a reason to do something else. You realize it's given you, I think one of the things that I was worried about, but what took me by surprise was that it made me more ambitious. I thought maybe my life would change in the sense that I would become all about being a dad, and my work would not be as important to me, and my music and writing and all that stuff wouldn't be as important. But what I actually found is it's made me more driven to do the things that I was doing before, because now I do it for Buzz and Buddy. Part of my life now is writing kids' books, and so they're it's in a world that they can start to appreciate. And music and a band, and seeing Buzz. Even yesterday in the car, he said, Daddy, do you remember when we went to McFly to the concert and I played drums? And to know that they have a kind of a connection with what I do, it's made me so more driven to do those things.
How does it make you feel, knowing that he, like Buddy's a bit oblivious to everything at the moment still. Getting him to focus is a challenge.
Yeah, he's like you.
Yeah, just so many things to focus on. But with Buzz, there was a clear thing from a very early age where he literally saw a McFly video and was hooked. How does it make you feel? Like, it just seems like such a natural connection that he's got. It wasn't pushed.
Yeah, well, it's like, it reminds me of me with my dad. Like, my dad was in bands when I was in a band, when I was a kid, when I was Buzz's age. And I would go to the British Legions and the working men's clubs and the pubs, to watch my dad play in the band from when I was 3, or younger. And then eventually would get up on stage with my dad and play. And I wanted to play guitar and I wanted to sing because I saw my dad do it. It was never pushed upon me. It was just totally what I wanted to do. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. Seeing your dad, when you're, or for me, he was my hero. Your parents are everything that you idolize and you aspire to be. And so it's really interesting being on the other side of that now and seeing that he's just absorbing things that we do and wanting to do those things because he sees us do it. And it is amazing. It's really special.
He does really notice what we do.
Yeah, I actually feel in some levels it puts pressure on you, because like I kind of feel like, right, well, I really need to do another McFly tour soon. Otherwise,
I think
Buzz is going to be really disappointed. Yeah, I don't have to worry about disappointing the fans, disappointing my kids. But no, it is amazing, and it does. It makes me feel like, oh, really, I'd love to, like, I want to get like the next album out or do another tour, so the kids can come along and see it, because they'll love it. Buzz will love getting up on stage, and Buddy will love, whacking Harry's drums, and it's such an awesome thing to be able to share with your kids. I'm sure there'll come a point where they're totally sick of it, or they're blatantly going to get
embarrassing.
Well, one of them's going to get into football, isn't he? And then I'm going to have to, try and pretend I know what I'm talking about with football.
That's one thing. You are good at many things. I always say, whatever you put your mind to, you are great, you achieve it. However, sport,
Yeah.
not so much.
No, I'm just not sporty. Well, the problem is I'm quite competitive, but absolutely terrible at most sports. So,
And Buddy can really kick a ball.
I know. I think he's going to get into football, isn't he?
Uncle Mary will help.
Yeah.
So, Tom, I finish every podcast.
I know. Now I'm
with
worried because I
sentences.
should have thought about this. I
It's
should have
all
planned
right.
it. Okay.
Sometimes not thinking about stuff is the best way. Okay, I'll change it so it's dad. That being a
Thanks.
dad means.
Okay. Well, I'm always with stuff like this. I'm always torn between like giving a genuine kind of heartfelt answer or something
Going
funny.
for the laughs.
Or going for the laugh. Being a dad means being a dad.
That is the sentence, yeah.
Yeah. Being a dad means everything. Everything that you do now in your life is about being a dad. Every aspect of your life that was totally not related to being a parent or having a kid is now totally related to it and has an effect on your family and your life, and it changes who you are.
Since having children, I
Haven't gone to the cinema very much.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I
you
really
only
missed
go
that.
take Buzz now.
And well, that's good because I probably would have gone to the cinema to see the kind of films that I can take Buzz to the cinema. So at least he's at an age now where I can take him along. I have realised I don't need as much sleep as I was having before. I can function on 4.5 hours sleep perfectly well.
Remember when we used to get up at like 10?
I know.
Sometimes midday.
I mean, that's most of the day's gone by then.
I know.
Since being a dad, I
love it. You just keep rolling them out. Keep rolling them out.
just going back to pelvic floor, I do have very bad. I have bad bladder control now. I think like sympathy pains. I'm sure I've got like sympathy bladder control.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just need the toilet all the time. And that has to be related to having kids.
Well, at least you don't think of we all the time.
No.
Yeah, there we go. And the last one, I'm happy when.
I'm happy when I'm home on the sofa with the boys, just chilling out, eating some snacks, watching the Gruffalo, watching Room on the Broom, watching Trolls or whatever they're into, or Cars for the 10 millionth time. There's a real nice moment like the other night where Buddy came and got my hand. He had the TV. I mean, it's probably terrible parenting. He had the TV remote in his hand, and he came and grabbed me, took my hand, walked me to the sofa, sat me up on the sofa because it was kind of like our nighttime routine.
Yeah.
We'll watch like bedtime stories, and then Buzz came and sat down next to me, and they just both snuggled in next to me on the sofa. It kind of reminded me of that bit in Jurassic Park when Dr. Grant, who he's discovering that he up to this point has hated kids,
Right.
and the kids convince him that he likes kids because he's actually really good with kids, and they come and like snuggle up next to him, and he realizes that he wants kids. So,
I love that nice tender moment with our kids. Reminds you of Jurassic Park.
It just reminded me of that. I thought, this is really cool. Like my kids are like, dictating this moment of like nice. Normally you grab your kid to like, give them a cuddle and
they wriggle away.
force them into a
Yeah.
snuggle. Like just having those moments where they are the ones that dictate that they want a little bit of, love and a snuggle and just to chill out on the sofa. They're the best moments. And that's when I'm happy.
Wonderful. Tom, you've been an absolute delight. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice. Yeah, I'm I don't know how compared to Emma Willis and Frankie.
Well, she cried, so you didn't cry. I thought I could count on you to be a crier, not a crier.
No,
But you were funny. You were up there with Frankie being funny.
I'm crying on the inside. Always crying on the inside.
Always. God, you're so deep. Right. Tom, you've been a delight. This is the end. This is the end of the first series of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast.
Aww.
Oh,
Should have got a
I
little
feel-
cake or a balloon or something.
Just pretend. Let's just pretend.
Yay.
There's a popper going off in case that didn't translate into podcast land. I've absolutely loved it. I've loved speaking to every single guest. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back soon. Bye.
Oh, I love it. It's like Back to the Future, to be continued.